she is.
Water.
You don't have to sit down. This meeting of the Berry County Board of Commissioners is called to order. Will Commissioner, staff, and guests please rise for invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Dear Lord, we thank you for this opportunity to come before you today. We ask that your wisdom be upon us. We ask that your hand be upon us here in Berry County and around the world. We ask that your love be felt in places near and far away. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. For the purposes of attendance, the clerk will call the roll.
Campbell.
Here.
Connor.
Here.
Geiger.
Here.
Getty.
Here.
Gibson.
Here.
Jackson.
Here.
Smelker.
Here.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Approval of written agenda. At this time, any commissioner or member of the public may ask for an item to be removed from the consent agenda and placed under items for consideration. Hearing no such request, does any commissioner wish to change the agenda additionally? Hearing no such request and without objection, the agenda is approved as written. Reports from state and county officers. Does any state or county officer or their representative have a report to share with the board? Limited public comment. This time, any member of the public wishing to address the board may do so for up to 3 minutes.
Alvin Schaumburg at Hastings. I would like to remind this board on the rule changes that you guys want to which you look at, and it's been tabled. First of all, I'd like to remind the ones who want to do that of the Constitution, Michigan Constitution. It says, "We the people of the state of Michigan are grateful to Almighty God for the blessings and freedoms and earnestly desire to steer those blessings undiminished to ourselves and our prosperity to ordain and establish this Constitution." Article 1 says, "All political power is inherent in the people. The government is instituted for equal benefit and security and protection. No person shall be denied equal protection of the laws, nor shall any person be denied the enjoyment of civil or political rights or be discriminated against in the exercise thereof." That includes religion, race, color, and national origin. The legislature shall implement this section by appropriate legislation. And also goes along with that we have the right to take and address you guys for our grievances and everything that you guys do, and instruct you guys to do as the people ask you to do. And underneath 5 of freedom of speech and press, every person may freely speak, write, express, publish his views on all subjects, being responsible for the abuse of such right, and no law shall be enacted to restrict or abridge the liberty of speech or press. Thank you.
Is there further public comment?
Morning. Gary White, Village of Nashville, and County Commissioner candidate for District 5. Just so everybody knows, I don't think Ben is a bad person. So, that being said, at the last meeting, the chairman, in my opinion, violated the Open Meetings Act with the experiment on an unknown citizen of Berry County. Did this also violate his freedom of speech? I think it was pretty disgusting for a representative, and then even afterwards, the chairman decided to question the commissioners on his experiment. Then later, Gaveling would let her to stop her comments so he could answer a question. I'm thinking we're just a little bit out of control. The chairman left the room also, chasing Eldon, with no notice, and later left his seat to go talk to others during the meeting. This is not the first time I have brought up the chairman's conduct and disrespect for speakers, including even at the health department board meetings. Board rules are on the agenda to be discussed. Open Meetings Act are in your rules along with Robert's rules. Sadly, it appears rules for thee, not for me, only apply. During second public comment, John Smelker demanded that he be able to reply to public comment. Robert's rules say agenda and amendments are approved at the beginning and should be followed top to bottom. There is no place in the agenda for that to happen. The chair decided to ignore the rules and allow this to happen. In a past meeting, John stopped by the chair when he wanted to respond to public comment, never to be allowed to. Your rules are obsolete. Your agenda is obsolete. You folks need to work on and come into the, I don't know what's going on nowadays. ARPA funds future should have been an easy, no second round will take place. It is obvious the county has needs that could eat up the full $11 million, and you've already given half of it away. $11+ million. Let's see. I probably won't have enough time to finish all this, so let me go, and if you want to hear it all, I can. Commissioner Getty would like broadband. John wants to spend money on COA first. Those are both wants with some need. The jail and funding of it is a state constitution requirement. How to fund the jail? You may want to give me time to finish it or not. Public Act 156 of 1851, prefix D and E, helps explain powers of county commissioners. I only have a few seconds. I got a page for how to fund the jail and some other comments. Do you want that done now or at the later meeting? Chairman's choice, I guess.
Thank you for your comments. Is there further public comment? Microphone on. Done.
All right, good morning. Joel Ibbotson, Rutland Township. I haven't been able to make it to the last couple meetings because of work, but at one of the meetings, it was said by the vice chairperson that these were recommendations, that the rules for public comment were recommendations from the lawyer. I'll get back to that. These rules were put forth by the then chairperson and vice chairperson after an individual called Eldon and I out in a public comment, and I gave a rebuttal that many people did not like. I wrote letters after the proposed rules were put forth and sent them to each commissioner and stated in those letters that the new rules were not lawful, and I also supplemented those letters with Attorney General opinions. The county then sought a legal opinion on the rules. That is where this letter came from. I can go back to the meetings and re-listen to them and play them back for you if you like. It was talked about at the meeting that if the rules, that in the attorney's opinion, if the rules were implemented, that caution must be used not to violate someone's First Amendment right. That is in the letter. So back to my first statement, there were no recommended changes from the lawyer. The letter was a response to a particular meeting. I've had the letter, I've read it, and again, there are no recommendations in the letter. There are several Attorney General opinions, of which I believe a couple of them I sent in to supplement my point of view. As a matter of fact, I believe that the rules for public comment for the Berry County Board of Commissioners are quite complete. If you read Attorney General Opinion 5183, I believe it is, you will see that there are three things that may be limited by rule. One, and it's also in the letter that you got from your attorney. One, the requirement that the speaker identify himself or herself. Two, the amount of time that a person may speak. And three, the place on the agenda where the person may speak, and our rules address all of those. There's an additional statement in that AG opinion that the rules must be flexible, reasonable, and encourage public participation. And I view ours rules as being complete because there is a section in there that states the chairperson may grant extra time to a person if so appropriate. I honestly wish that every governmental agency would adopt this version of rules than any other version of rules that exist. I think that these rules exhaustively cover every single issue that needs to be addressed. With that said, I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there further public comment?
Hello and good morning. Chuck Hertzler, Hastings City. First of all, I would like to make a formal and public invitation to the 7 of you to come to Bowens Mills on March 18th to the LGAF's meeting, and we're having a Meet the Candidate meeting. We're inviting all candidates running for re-election or for a new election to come and to be able to speak with the people, let the people speak to you, ask questions, and get answers. So I would like to formally make that invitation to all of you. Now, this is the thing that really kills me right now. The county jail. All right, I'm going to guess it's been about 10 years, or give or take, that you guys have been working on this about the county jail, and it reminds me so much of what Berry Township did with their water tower. 20 years ago, they got everything ready for a water tower, but over 20 years, they cannot come up with any way to pay for a water tower until the ARPA funds came through. What have you guys done in the last 10 years to put any money towards building a jail? Now with inflation going crazy, gas prices jumping to over $4 a gallon and stuff, you're going to put together a proposal for another millage that you think will pass, and I really think that's a pipe dream for you guys. You have done nothing to build the county's trust. You've done nothing to show the people you're trying to get the money. You guys get raises every year with property tax increases, people moving in, houses being built and stuff. You can't tell me you can't come up with a way other than to spend the county's money every year to the last penny without putting any money aside to build a jail. I just don't believe it. You got your own house. You probably set money aside, or most people would, because you know your roof's going to leak, or your water heater's going to go out, or something. And if you don't have the money, you don't go to your neighbors and say, hey, give me some money, I got to buy a new water heater. You come up with the money yourself. That's what we need to do here. Start rearranging this budget, tighten up things, maybe put a freeze on some things, and start treating this like an unfunded liability and put money towards jail. And show the people that you really do care about having a jail for this county. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there further public comment?
Morning, Larry Bass, Carrollton Township. So one of the things that happens here quite frequently is people come up here to the podium like I am right now and they ask questions. They never get an answer, either publicly or it doesn't look like privately most of the time. Got something I'd like to read for you. This recent question was sent to the MSU Extension educators regarding the Michigan Planning Commission. The writer was frustrated about public comment. He went on to explain. Their policy is that during citizens speak during citizens' comments, and the commissioners remain silent. And the commissioners then speak, and the community must remain silent. Sound familiar? When I hear them, likewise, I think the public is saying something wrong. They also want to correct it immediately. However, the way we have set the rules up, we cannot have that dialogue. Bill Schuette sent a document out, and I quote, upon review, there is not any rule that says members of the public cannot ask the speaker questions, clarification, detailed citations of sources, and so on. Of course, the public's body's own bylaws may have such a rule. I couldn't find that in the bylaws. I might have missed it, and maybe in Robert's Rules of Orders. However, Robert's Rules of Orders get a little nebulous on this topic. It may also be helpful to include in the bylaws that any time limit for public speakers does not include the time taken to respond to questions, clarifications, citations, incorporated. We keep talking about openness, and what have you and whatnot in here and stuff. And this is something I think you folks should really think about. There's a lot, and you wonder why people get frustrated sometimes. I've got another statement here, and this comes from a prestigious law firm up in Okemos. It's contrary to popular belief, the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution does not give residents the right to make remarks during a meeting's public comment period. The Supreme Court stated in Minnesota State Board for Community Colleges that the Constitution does not grant members of the public generally a right to be heard by public body making decisions of policy. It is actually the Open Meetings Act, not the First Amendment, that gives township residents the right to address a public comment period. So I'm still not in fighting term. See MCL 15261 if you have any questions pertaining to that. AG Opinion 52332, and I might remind you that Attorney General opinions are only binding to state agencies and such, not to county commissions, township commissions, and what have you, Daisy. But townships can also prohibit public comments on topics other than public business, such as personal attacks. ID is generally up to the township supervisor. Is moderator of the township board to intervene and enforce these rules? MCL 41.72.
Thank you for your comments.
Can I have a couple more minutes?
Not a couple more minutes. You can have 30 seconds.
Granted, extended minutes previously, I might add. So at this note, there'll be a plan B. Thank you for your cooperation.
Thank you. Is there further public comment?
Hello, Adam Heikkila. Wasn't sure what to say. Honestly, I'd forgotten kind of about last week's fiasco at last comment time until recently, because I'm a little busy, and so haven't had that much time actually to think about all that's happened, other than the fact that I'd like to give a real apology and say or just say that I do forgive you, Mr. Smelker, for interrupting me. I would, though, ask that we do get a real apology, because the public doesn't know that after the meeting last week, after I was interrupted in my public comment time when I was simply giving actual factual information about Public Act 152 that the general public doesn't know about Public Act 152, that does bind local municipalities in the amounts that they can pay for insurance. I was then rudely interrupted during the public comment time. Mr. Smelker then did make on the record, you allowed him to, make an apology of then after the meeting, I was approached by Mr. Smelker. I was then apologized in a fake manner, because he said he only apologizes to me because he's tired of us giving misinformation here at this table or podium. And the fact that he would do that is absolutely disgusting. Needs to be known by the world and put on record that that's what your board members are doing to the public. Just like Vivian Connor that approached me after a meeting with her mask on, asked me questions that she thought would put me in my place in some manner. Like I didn't know how things function, how the monies are distributed, after I've been explaining to you my experience, my knowledge, and how these things work. And then she smiled and laughed and then got upset with me, and I got kicked out by a posse member, and then I had to share with our sheriff even that yeah. You all continue to do more and more and more to show us that you think you're separate than us. That this is an elitist system here that rules over us. That's not what it is. The comments that were made after showed the true light. That there was no actual apology. It was a fake apology. It was disgusting that it happened. Every one of you should be upset that it happened. But you're not, because you don't understand. And that's why I forgive you all, because there's ignorance here that you don't understand, and it's not your fault. You've been trained incorrectly. You've not seen it a different way. I get that. So I forgive you all for that.
Thank you for your comments. Is there further public comment?
Michelle Peltier, Hastings. Last week I didn't say anything during public comment because I had to go home and think about it. But I support Vice Chair Connor's supported changes to the public comment section of the bylaws. I think we all deserve a peaceful environment in which we can express our views. We do not need people disrespecting anyone, calling them out, insulting them, thinking that they're corrupt, images of violence. We don't need that. We just need to get on with the county business, keep topics that are germane to this board, not comments about the press. That has nothing to do with the board and is outside your control, as it should be, as we have a free press. And I'd just like to see some civility. And if we have to do that because of through the bylaws, then let's do it. Let's keep things germane. Let's keep things civil so that all of us can partake of this and not be subject to an environment that's heated or rash. Constructive criticism is required. I would also criticize things that the board does as we see fit, and I think we can do it all in a civil manner. So I would support any changes to the bylaws that would do that and create an environment where we all feel free to talk. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there further public comment?
Morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Thanks for giving me this opportunity to speak. My name is Jack Miner. I'm a citizen of Berry County. I was wondering how much money was pumped into Berry County in 2021 by the COVID impact payments. Everyone has a right to their opinion, but to make good decisions, we need to have facts. The following facts are from the 2020 census. We had 62,423 citizens. Over 13,000 of them were under 18. Over 48,000 were over 18. I made some assumptions. These are not facts. These are assumptions. I made an assumption that 10% of the Berry County citizens over 18 were not qualified for those funds. And I made the assumption that everyone under 18 years old was granted $500. Estimated impact of these funds on Berry County residents was over $68 million. $68 million. When we discuss second round ARPA funding, consider this. That's a lot of money. Thank you for listening to me. Copies of these source documents are on the media desk. I will be leaving this meeting at 10:15 for another meeting, but I will be here next week if someone would like to discuss this with me. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there further public comment?
Pat Jameson, Bowens Mills. Brownfield redevelopment. No idea what it is. Go to your Berry County website. Nothing's been updated since 2017. I see on the agenda today, someone's getting appointed who was also on the ARPA committee. Kind of neat, you know. How about you stop serving the Berry County 400 and listen to at least some of us?
Thank you. Is there further public comment? Hearing none, we'll move ahead. Various correspondence. Does any commissioner have correspondence they wish to share with the board? Consent items. Commissioner Gibson.
I move for approval of February 22nd, 2022 Board of Commissioners meeting minutes. Item B, approval of March 1st, 2022 Committee of the Whole meeting minutes. Item C, approval to reappoint Cindy Vaju to the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority for a 3-year term beginning on 1/1/22 and expiring on 12/31/2024. Item D, approval to amend the Berry County personnel policy to reduce the health insurance waiting period for new hires from 60 days to 0 days effective 1/1/22 for general fund non-representative employees, including department heads and elected officials. Item E, approval to appoint Emily Wookey to the Berry County Conservation Easement Board position representing ag interests, and the reappointment of Larry Neal to the Berry County Conservation Easement Board position representing real estate development for terms that begin on January 1st, 2022 and end on December 31st, 2024.
Motion by Gibson, supported by Smelker, to approve the items listed under the consent agenda. Discussion is not allowed and roll call vote is required. All those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed will vote nay. The clerk call the roll.
Campbell.
Aye.
Connor.
Aye.
Getty.
Aye.
Gibson.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Smoker.
Aye.
Geiger.
Aye. The consent agenda is approved. Presentations, we have none. Public hearings, we have none. Items for consideration.
I move for items for consideration, approval of transfers and disbursements, approval of prepaid invoices in the amount of $4,212,226.93.
Support.
Motion by Getty, supported by Gibson, for the approval of transfers and disbursements, approval of prepaid invoices in the amount of $4,212,226.93. Is there discussion? Hearing none, the clerk will call the roll.
Connor.
Aye.
Getty.
Aye.
Gibson.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Smoker.
Aye.
Campbell.
Aye.
Geiger.
Aye. The item's approved.
I move for the approval of claims in the amount of $31,934.71.
Motion by Getty, supported by Smelker, for the approval of claims in the amount of $31,934.71. Is there discussion? Hearing none, the clerk call the roll.
Getty.
Aye.
Gibson.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Smoker.
Aye.
Campbell.
Aye.
Connor.
Aye.
Geiger.
Aye. The item is approved.
I move for the approval of commissioner reimbursements, mileage in the amount of $204.29.
Support.
Motion by Getty, supported by Jackson, for the approval of commissioner reimbursement mileage in the amount of $204.29. Is there discussion? Hearing none, the clerk call the roll.
Gibson.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Smoker.
Aye.
Campbell.
Aye.
Connor.
Aye.
Getty.
Aye.
Geiger.
Aye. The item is approved. We have no unfinished business. We have no new business. County Administrator's report. We have no administrator here today. I have no report. Vice Chair Connor.
Last week I attended the Orangeville Township meeting. That was the only meeting I had last week. My meetings really start this week, so that's all I have.
Thank you. Commissioner reports. We'll start with Commissioner Getty.
I attended the Village of Middleville Committee of the Whole meeting and West Michigan Regional Planning Commission.
Commissioner Smelker.
My meetings haven't started this month yet, start this week.
Commissioner Gibson.
I'm just starting my cycle.
Commissioner Jackson.
Berry Township tonight, Rutland Township tomorrow, solid waste oversight on Friday. Things are just getting started. If I may have a minute, though, just to piggyback on some of the comments that were made.
Yes.
It's been asked, and a couple of the things that I had talked to Chair Geiger about, and it's good that it's been brought up, is that I think we do need to add a section for board member comments to follow up on some of the things that are being talked about during public comment. So I think that will be a future agenda item that we can discuss. We need to modify our agenda. So I think that that is a good idea, and I'd like to see that happen because there's a lot of questions that come up. I know there's a view that some of what is taking place is because people know that we are not going to respond to public comment, that public comment is not designed to be a tennis match where we get into a debate or a discussion back and forth. It's the public's time to address the board, and that's what it's supposed to be. But there are some questions where people legitimately want answers to that I think we could answer either at that time, after public comment, or at a future meeting. That we, I've taken some notes on some of those things, and one of the things that I think Charles had mentioned in at least 2 meetings in the past is that the ARPA funding, as we've discussed it, has not been, it talked about how ARPA funds should be used for businesses, for personal, to assist people. So I appreciate Jack pulling those statistics, and I don't quite know where the 68 million impact is, but I had made some notes about rental assistance, student loan deferments, stimulus payments that have been given out. I don't know if there were 2 or 3 stimulus payments that went out to people. So there's been a lot of money given to individuals, including that 68 million, but from businesses, which was one of the other questions. I pulled some statistics off of that. There were 454 PPP loans granted to Berry County businesses, and there's a range between $34 and $58 million that was put into Berry County. 454 businesses up to $58 million. But part of that is also the Berry Bridge Fund, $92,600. Small Business Relief Fund, $32,008. Small Business Restart Grants, $334,799. Small Business Survival Grant, $219,612. Berry Community Foundation, $123,572 in direct aid, for a total of $877,000 that's also locally through state and local funds been infused into local businesses. And I think if you give the eye test to Berry County and you look around to see how Berry County businesses are doing and how Berry County people are doing, I think we've come through this pandemic pretty well because there's always been a spirit of collaboration. So I wanted to answer that question because it's come up when people say, why aren't you focusing ARPA funds on businesses or individuals? There's always an opportunity if there was a request to do that. However, the eye test and the amount of money that's come in, I mean, if Jack's figure is somewhat close at 68 million, and we know we have somewhere between 35 and 59 million in funds for businesses, that's been a tremendous impact on individuals and businesses in the county. So I just wanted to answer that, why it was on my mind. I hope this board can move forward and be more engaging with our constituents and answer some questions. We know some of the things that come up continue to recycle. We have questions about the health department. And since I've been a commissioner approaching 7 years, that question has continued to recycle. We've had an ad hoc committee address some of those things. Be happy to go into the details again at some point for those who are new or don't have that information. But I hope that we can address that at a future COW and perhaps amend our agenda to allow for some additional input. So thank you for allowing me a little information there.
Commissioner Campbell.
I like your thoughts on that, Dave, on the public comment. I did attend Maple Grove and Assyria Township meetings. Both are preparing budgets for upcoming annual meetings. We did have a conversation on county ARPA funds with a thought to take more time on next round. With the hindsight as a driver, I would agree with this. I also attended the Conservation Easement Board. We put together some brochures that will be distributed soon. They'll show more of what we're about and how to get involved. Also, longtime member Paul Wing is stepping down after nearly 20 years of service. Paul has been a pleasure to work with, and his vast knowledge will be missed. He'll be replaced with Emily Wilk, who will be another wealth of knowledge for the board. I will be attending Baltimore Township tonight, and on Wednesday I'll go to Johnstown.
Thank you. Limited public comment. This time, any member of the public wishing to address the board may do so for up to 3 minutes. Yeah, go ahead, Sheriff.
Well, good morning. Bend with me, did it? There it goes. I got to read you something here. I just thought this was pretty funny. Thank God I'm a sheriff in Berry County, not in this area here. A box containing human heads intended for scientific research was stolen from a freight truck in Denver, Colorado.
Oh.
I have no idea we would investigate something like that. That'd be really out of, I don't know. I'd just leave that alone.
Head scratching.
Yes. Correction staff booked and processed 147 persons in the jail for the month of February. Additionally, 93 persons released back into the community. Daily average inmate population is 61. Staff reported 25 inmates transported 25 inmates to and from various locations, including court, medical facilities, and other counties. Dr. Sweetland was just died recently. We used to do a lot of work with him, taking inmates back and forth where dental work. In addition, we've administered 63 weekend drug screens, fingerprinted 71 persons, and kitchen staff has prepared 5,294 meals at $2.20 a meal. As everything else, even our prices are going up. It used to be about $1.50. Bookings, 2020, 247, 2017, 5 years ago was 266. Releases, 93. 2017 was 210. Transports, 25 to 28. Public prints, 71 in 2017, 123. Drug screens, 63 and 92 in 2017. Meals served to inmates, it was 5,294, while it was 6,812 in 2017 at $1.48 a meal. Plumbing repairs, we had $1,140, and security repairs, $1,083. Law enforcement logged 487 complaints handled. In the month of February, 29 individuals were arrested, 11 felony, 22 misdemeanor charges. There were 100 accidents handled, 45 involved deer, 3 involved alcohol and or drugs. 450 criminal histories were run. 71 sex offenders were processed. 21 home checks were conducted for the Berry County Specialty Courts. 189 pistol licenses were processed. Incidents handled, 2022, 487, 2017, 530. Accidents handled, 100 in 2022. 2017 were 70. Car deer is 45 versus 43. Arrests, 29, 11 felony, 22 misdemeanors for 2022. In 2017, it was 64, 22 felony charges and 46 misdemeanors. Alcohol-related arrests, 4 in 2022 and 8 in 2017. Any questions
for the sheriff? Commissioner Connor?
I saw in claims that we had an extradition. Thank you for following through and continuing to pursue bringing people to justice.
All right. Yeah, we work with the prosecutor's office on that, and we've worked very well with them on that.
Thank you.
I would remark on one of your things that you brought up, talking about the money that was coming in from the state. When this pandemic hit, there was a whole bunch of money that was supposed to be going to the small businesses. And one of the things that really angered me is when the state cut back their employees to 32 hours a week, which qualified them for $600 extra a week. And that money wasn't intended for that. They were going to get paid whether or not that money was there. That money was intended for the businesses so they could keep their doors open. And I don't know, anyways, just want to keep that fresh in your minds where, call your representatives and stuff like that. So thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. Is there limited public comment?
Hello, Gary White again. I did bring up that possible way to fund the jail, so I brought those numbers in. In the past few years, the county has borrowed money to build mental health building and now the new facility out on McEwen Road. And that was without voter approval. The court building was built, once again without voter approval, and I believe that was paid off last year or this year. The numbers to build the jail and possible funding areas. ARPA, $5,925,000 with the money, the second half. Go to your technology fund, get $1 million out of that because I'm sure you'll have technology in the jail. Go to your building rehabilitation fund, $1 million or maybe more in there. I didn't look at the balances on these funds, but what are they? Then spread $25 million county loan bond over 30 years and pay for it with 6% of your annual 14% contingency fund, which leaves 8% contingency funds, which grows every year as tax levy is always maxed approved. Tax revenues grew this year about 2.8% this year. Should the commissioners use county funds and assets first, then the taxpayers may be more receptive and trust to give a small millage to enlarge the jail at a later date. We need no increased taxes, especially now with the increased cost of living under the Biden administration. A smart board, in my opinion, would do this before interest rates go up. I challenge any commissioner to come up with a jail plan that doesn't come after taxpayers first. Come after your revenues that you have. 14% contingency fund is what should be used for contingency needs. I think the jail is a need, correct? So that's what your funds are. You folks want to play and come after my bank account, but never look to your bank account first. I will say, I could have brought this up at the first one I asked, and the chairman could have said yes or no instead of running the clock out and said thank you or your time is up. So once again, your agenda needs to be adjusted. I don't know why, if you would have had this information, maybe Dave would have commented on it or somebody else would have commented on it during your commissioners' reports. But you need to start representing the people, and that does with dialogue and communication. It doesn't happen sitting there just none. You know. The other thing I got to worry about is the 800 megahertz tower. It seems like I was told today it's going to Middleville, Freeport area. When I heard that, it was just, I thought it was going to go for county-wise. I didn't realize that funding is going, tax dollars going west, and we're not getting much east. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there further public comment?
Larry Bass, Carlton Township. One of the things I'd like to remind the commissioners, the chair, and everybody that's here, if you want respect, you give respect. Okay, sometimes that's lacking here, and there's no room on either side for looking agitated or treating the public that way, frankly. One of the things I want to talk about initially is the new rules, or the proposed rules. Here I've got copies of extracts from all 6 adjacent counties. Every adjacent county has a rule that basically says public comments must be germane or involve county business, okay? If you don't adopt that, I'm sure I'll talk about the causalities of the First Punic War next meeting. But this has been brought up before. It's not unusual. All 6 adjacent counties specify that public comments are germane and pertain to county business. Second thing I want to talk about is ARPA, the ARPA committee. Somebody, not myself, instituted a series of FOIAs to the county requesting such things as minutes and what have you of the advisory committee, and also the minutes of the meeting when they were appointed by the board. The minutes that came back for 5/11. On 5/11, the only mention of the advisory committee was, as I state, presentations. Bonnie Geddes, President, CEO of Berry Community Foundation, gave a presentation on the committee. It doesn't look like that was appointed by the board. I think that was a mistake. Okay, rumor has it, and I would like an answer to this, that the individuals on that board were approached by various individuals on this commission. So I'd like somebody to give me clarity on that in private initially. If you look at your board rules, which sometimes are followed, sometimes aren't followed here, the board may establish from time to time such special committees as deemed necessary. Shall only be advisory in nature. Sounds like the ARPA committee to me. The purpose shall be determined at the time the special meeting is established. At least 2 commissioners shall be a member of a special committee. A special committee may report recommendations to the board for appropriate action and shall be automatically dissolved when their specific task is completed. Right here, and if you give me a couple minutes, which I'm probably not going to get, an advisory committee is not subject to the Open Meetings Act. Okay, that's one thing that's specified, and which means, once again, the public is not will be kept in the dark as to when the meetings are, topics of discussions, and such. I think that was a mistake that was made here by the commission, and I frankly would like to see that rectified with the additional $6 million supposedly that are coming for ARPA funds, and we can probably have them escorted out. That's something you should consider very strongly. You made a mistake. It's time to correct the mistake. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there further public comment?
Good morning. Joel Ibbotson, Rutland Township, once again. At that meeting, this was probably, 2 years ago, when we were discussing these rules for public comment prior. Ben, I want to thank you for standing up then, and Dave Jackson, you brought my concerns to the board as well, reading that letter. I hope that your convictions haven't changed on that. That said, I want to speak for Aaron Gross, who cannot make it here. He would really appreciate it if there would be some night meetings so that he could attend. He was very grateful that you guys put the ARPA committee in the PM when it happened, but he had contracted COVID 3 days prior to that from work and wasn't able to attend. And so it would be greatly appreciated if we could figure out one meeting a month where we and maybe have it be somewhat of a I don't want to say town hall meeting, but a legitimate forum where there is a dialogue between commissioners and the people. But I want to caution, be careful on the dialogue. As commissioners, you can very easily say, I don't have an answer for you today. I will be back with one next week. And I think that well-calculated, thought-out responses are much better than just what's going to roll right off the tongue. I can tell you that whenever I've said something without preparing, I generally come to regret it later. And as my father would say, make sure your words are sweet because someday you may have to eat them. Thank you.
Thank you. Sage advice. Is there further public comment?
Pat Jameson, Bowens Mills. I just had a question about MALF from the health department. I believe we got into that beginning of January 2021, correct? Or I'll ask you afterwards, never mind.
Yeah, let's talk after.
Sorry. Then for COVID, they just changed the criteria for what is high, what is low. Just flat out changed it. So now we're low. That's messed up. Now what we're about to see is the mental health part come swooping in. You guys sat there, I was there at the courthouse 5.5, 6 hours. You had people telling you back then the damage it was doing. You guys did nothing. You kicked the can down the road. You guys all might be nice people, but you did not do anything for that. You let us down. You let me down. ARPA. My own township, Yankee Springs, didn't even get told about it in the first round. There was 2 outside counties that were notified of it. I think Boone County, which is just on the other side of Freeport, I think, and then St. Joe County somehow, and that was in the 6/22 meeting. That's neat. And then one thing, can we see the voting recommendations from this ARPA committee? Can that be made public? I would like to see everybody's vote that was on that committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there further public comment? Hearing none, there is no other business to come before the vote.
Eldon slow sometimes, so I was giving him a chance there, but I apologize for that, Eldon. So yeah, Adam Heikela. So, yeah, where do you even go from here? Because I've said the same things again, repeatedly. Public comment time. For these meetings, it's known and to be contentious. That's contention at these meetings between, us and you that happens at times, especially when a board presents itself in the manner that you continually do and disregarding the majority of what's being said. Contention is, this is an environment that breeds that, unfortunately. And it's unfortunate for you. I know, I've been in your position. It's not fun. So that's why, having so many voices that have continually came and coming repeatedly and speaking to you guys, it would be nice to see something different at times. Other than just the speaking of it, the action is what needs to happen. I think that, the fact that we have to increase this whole bench here by one, right? We don't fit in this room anymore. We're talking about needing at different times for people that can attend. I think that it's a great opportunity that you search for the new location that doesn't have all these protective requirements that really are not supposed to be there for just a public meeting, because you're not under threat in any way. No one's here to harm you all. We want you all to do the right things for the community. That's all that continues to happen. You might feel threatened in some manner because people come up passionately and speak and say things to you that you don't like. But that's part of your job and what you signed up for. And you making any additional rules that might appear for people that cannot come up here and speak passionately. That man back there, I know, he hasn't spoken very often because, as you see, he gets upset when he gets up here and has to address you. People that get upset when they address a board like you, they know that they're going to get upset. They don't want to come here and get upset. And especially if you create more rules that's going to say, oh, well, we're going to shut you down and kick you out anyways if you show that you're upset and try to address things that need to be addressed in the public, then they're not going to come here. You're going to reduce the participation, okay? And when you make comments that, oh, you can meet with us afterwards. You mean afterwards, like I was addressed after the meeting last week? Like I was addressed the same thing after another school board meeting here in this community last month? Laughed at? Because they violated the Open Meetings Act, which happens. But we need to figure out how we actually get these people that are violating these things, people in your positions that are violating things. Yeah, I'll cite you the information to show you that I'm speaking the truth and facts on that as well, John.
Is there further public comment?
Hello, Chuck Hertzler, Hastings City again. I was hoping to see last week you said you would release the lawyer's report or recommendations and stuff, and we'd be able to see it, the public would. And I know that next week is when it's going to be talked about again, if I remember from last week. I was hoping to see it like in the agenda packet or something. I guess
You can get a copy of that.
Do I have to FOIA it, or is it
No,
something?
just ask the administration office.
Okay, and that's all I really want to know. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there further public comment?
Eldon Schellenberger, Hastings resident. As I see, as time's gone on over the years, as I've been to many meetings, many county commissioners meeting and other governmental meetings, I see people in power abuse their power. More and more, they try to take and shut the citizens up. And the citizens are the ones who put them in office. And it really disgusts me to see that they're trying to shut the public up. They're trying to take more power and control the public. And this is all going to come back and karma and bite these people, because you guys are getting too power hungry. We don't have to answer to the citizens, even though they vote us in office. Y'all try to find a way to shut them up so you don't have to answer them. Or you vote your personal views instead of what the public asks you to vote for. I would like to think that our government's better than that, and the people we put in office are better than that. But from what I've been seeing over the years, there's been over amount of abuse of power. And we the people have had enough of the over abuse of people in government. So then you wonder why people get disgusted, do the things they do, yell, scream, because they're frustrated. Because their representatives are not doing anything to represent them. They're only representing their own best interest. Thank you.
Is there further public comment? There is no other business to come before the board, and without objection, the board will now adjourn. No objection, the board is now adjourned.